Make no attempt to reload your device. You are now entering the Hellhole.
Welcome back to the Hellhole. We're doing some flipping Hellhole. Comics on the desk. Ready to go, ready to look. So, if you've been here recently, this is one for the Marvel Snap crowd because we did a Thunderbolts comic book inspired team challenge. But the real challenge was trying to put together a team inspired by the earliest Thunderbolts. I was looking for, in my mind, the iconic Thunderbolts. Some of those characters from this original run maybe don't stick around quite as much, but that's generally what I was skewing towards. So here we have the first appearance of the Thunderbolts. I figure we'll flick through it. It's Incredible Hulk 449. The lighting issue here, I don't know, like how's it looking? Can you see it? So this is 449. This is the issue I bought off shelves in 1997. Exciting times. It's pretty beat up. The cover has slipped. The nightmare of the comic book fan. As a kid, you just got stacks of comics, and occasionally those covers get away from you. But this is it. It was a big deal introducing the Thunderbolts. It wasn't something that I ran to the stands to get. I got it, probably after getting a few other things at the newsagent. It was a pretty good newsagent. 97 was a pretty good year. They still had plenty of stuff. I probably would have got Fantastic Four. I would have been getting issues of Deadpool, particularly from that newsagent. Was at the top of a hill. I'm not going to dox myself, but it was a good one to go to, and this was there for a while, and I think eventually I was like, all right, I'll do it. I can't remember if I knew the twist about Thunderbolts when I got it. I actually might have. It might have already been in like a Wizard magazine that I read, and some of that could even just be a quirk of the timing of things getting released and being on shelves, and this was probably on shelves for a little while before I actually picked it up. I guess we'll get into it. So, as you can see, first appearance is an issue of Hulk. They will spin off, I think, straight into Thunderbolts #1. I got a beat up copy of that with me too. We'll see if we get to it. I like this idea though. This is a great way to get a team over. I'm thinking of something like the New Warriors, which maybe don't have the name recognition now, but back in like the early 90s, early 90s, New Warriors were a good example again of a new team put together that debuted in Thor. And I do have that issue, so that's something we might look at in the future. So put your new team in Hulk, and it's sort of appropriate too, because around this time, like the Thunderbolts is coming out of essentially Heroes Reborn, which came out of Onslaught, and if you've been watching X-Men 97, you're probably thinking about Onslaught, or maybe, maybe you don't know about it, but essentially like the X-Men have an issue with Onslaught, who is sort of like the psychic residue of when Professor Xavier, attacked the mind of Magneto and Fatal Attractions a few years prior. That's a big deal for the current X-Men 97 story. All of that, becomes jumbled up. It becomes a psychic entity named Onslaught that is really big and powerful. And when the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, Hulk, when they go into sort of like try to deal with it, everybody thinks they get killed. They actually get sucked into a pocket dimension, and in the real world, they're part of like an experiment with some of the Image guys, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld. They come back to handle the Heroes Reborn relaunch. It's like 12-issue, 13-issue miniseries, retelling the story in a modern style of Fantastic Four, Avengers, Captain America, and Iron Man. Those are the 4 Heroes Reborn series. So all of those major heroes are gone. Thor's gone, Iron Man, Captain America, the Fantastic Four, they're all gone. Everybody in the Marvel Universe thinks they're dead. In that void emerges the Thunderbolts. Hulk is in both realities. Hulk is sort of the schism of Banner and Hulk has created a divergence. So Hulk is still going in the main Marvel Universe, and that's what's going on here. And you can see big action kicking off straight away. We're going to get into this now. Can you see your creative team? Because I can't read it on the screen. Peter David is the writer. It's Mike Deodato Jr. doing pencils. I don't know. Read at your own leisure. Zoom in if you got to. So I forget the deal with this. This is like a lady from the future or something. I forget all this, but this is like cool, big action. Deodato Jr. doing some good work. Mark Bagley will do the Thunderbolts series proper. So if we get to that, that'll be cool. A very sympathetic, this isn't the Mike Deodato Jr. of... Did he do later Thunderbolts? And he sort of changes his style. He starts doing heavy photo reference. I think it was him that was doing the Tommy Lee Jones, Norman Osborn, and stuff like that. It was a little bit weird. I prefer maybe this kind of like classic comic book style. No, maybe not classic. 90s, certainly Marvel House style. So you got like Mach-V coming in hot. Big action. Everybody's fighting. Nice big double page kind of event going on here. Showing off the size of the Hulk and the threat of the Thunderbolts. You got Techno, Moonstone, Atlas, and these are the characters that I was looking for. If I'm going to make a Thunderbolts team, I want Atlas. Atlas is a big one. Mach-V is a big one because they stick around through different iterations of the series. Songbird is another one. She's going to be... Oh, yeah, she's here. She's above Atlas. So they stick around. And these are like... The gimmick is that they're the Masters of Evil disguised as new heroes, filling the void of all the heroes that are supposedly dead in the Marvel Universe. So you kind of get that. You see Hulk's playing the mind games with him. He's surrendering. Songbird comes in with the cage. This classic ads, all that good stuff. So Hulk is not fighting, and Hulk's not quite himself during this period because of that Heroes Reborn split. It's around this time. It could even be the same month. I would have bought. Is it Deadpool 4 when Deadpool needs some of Hulk's blood to deal with I don't know, something is I forget what it is. Is it his condition is on having issues or something? I don't know, like the healing factor is like keeping the cancer at bay and all that stuff. I don't know, I forget the exact details. But so Hulk is susceptible to being defeated by somebody like Deadpool. Things like that. That's the reasoning anyway. You're always negotiating sort of the pro wrestling element, and there's a pro wrestling element to this because you're trying to get these new characters over. What do? You put them up against a big name, and even win, lose, or draw, you give them a bit of a rub. You bring them in at a certain level. These guys went toe to toe with the Hulk. Doesn't matter if they win or lose. They met the Hulk. So now there's a little bit of mystique and there's a little bit of cachet about these characters. Citizen V is like the big face of the Thunderbolts at this time, and he is, of course, secretly Baron Zemo. Citizen V has a history with Marvel Comics. There's a previous version, but really liked, at the time, this design. I mean, generally the Thunderbolts are a little bit generic, and that's probably why I wasn't super excited about snapping this up at the newsagent straight away. But the sort of the mask with like the V shape, is pretty good. Mach-V is kind of cool. It's a little bit generic power suit kind of deal, but it's interesting. So he's usually Beetle, the villain Beetle, which you might know from Spider-Man. Beetle was in like Daredevil. Might have gone up against Iron Man, but I think of him more as like a Spider-Man villain, rightly or wrong. I'm trying to remember. Songbird was Screaming Mimi. She's an X-Men villain. She was probably, did I have a trading card in the X-Men 94 Fleer Ultra series? Go check that out in the archive on YouTube. Search for Hellhole X-Men, and you'll find something. It's all connected, man. This is the good kind of connected. This is like the legit good fun time comic connections, not like the Marvel movie stuff where they tell you it's connected. none of it matters. None of it's very interesting. The things that actually cross over are generally the things that either don't come from comics or just aren't interesting. Like, who cares about Agent Coulson or whatever? That stuff. I don't know. I'm not really into it. To me, it's pretty lame, and to me, increasingly, the movies were dissatisfying pretty quickly. I always thought Avengers was pretty mediocre, pretty lame. It was a triumph in scheduling. They're talking about the movie Avengers, the first one. It was cool to see Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Chris Evans, who was not a A-lister at the time, as Cap. Who was Chris Hemsworth before? Around, even early Thor, you're still not blown away. That's changed over time, but he was the guy, being Australian, he's the guy that won, he was on Home and Away and then won Dancing with the Stars. And our version of Dancing with the Stars is not impressive by any means. It's a pretty mediocre. So Avengers was not an amazing film. Weak-ass villains, plot not real interesting, triumph of scheduling that you managed to get these people to show up. And that's about it. The movies they never really delivered. To me, the best Marvel films are still the first Iron Man. I rate Iron Man 3 pretty highly as a film, even though it had those disappointments with the Mandarin and all that kind of stuff. But we're way off, there's a Thunderbolts film coming. That's why the movies are in mind. And that's why I presumably, Thunderbolts are in Marvel Snap. They're becoming topical, but I'm not going to disappear into the movies. We're looking at comics. So here we go. Big action. All this is good stuff. This is good. To me, this is the Mike Deodato Jr. you want, man. This is good stuff. Credit to the inker. I've already forgotten. I don't think, who is this? Tom, how do you say that? Wegerzik? I don't know. I don't know how you say that. Glynis Oliver on colors. Doing good work, nice finishes on this. This is a very clean, sort of standard Marvel look, but, I enjoy this. Colors are interesting because they're going quite, bright on the backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, I think it works. It's cool. So Atlas was Goliath, one of the Ant-Man, Giant Man villains. Would have gone up shortly before this. I remember he was in Marvel Comics Presents going up against Goliath. I can't think of that. Bill Foster, the Bill Foster Goliath, who was Giant Man at the time, played by Lawrence Fishburne in the Ant-Man films, but he never becomes Goliath or Black Goliath. He was Black Goliath for a little while. To me, that's kind of cheesy. Goliath is pretty good. This guy was Goliath too, though. He becomes Atlas as a hero. That's his sort of alias to fool the public into thinking he's a big-time heroic figure stepping in for the dead heroes, like we said. Here we got Citizen V is kind of your big deal. He's coming up. He's just a very capable fighter who has a sword, and of course, if you know Baron Zemo, Baron Zemo uses a sword. All good stuff. There's damage to the dam. The Thunderbolts come through, so they don't really stop Hulk. Because, you can't stop Hulk. You need the Hulk series to continue. But the Thunderbolts still do some good, get some PR, and that's kind of a conceit of their early appearances, that some of it is they're just trying to curry favor with the public. It's a pretty old story. I think, did they ever do that with the Frightful Four? I think there was an animated series did that, where the Frightful Four would present themselves as, better than the Fantastic Four. They'd undermine and sabotage the FF, that kind of thing. I mean, in the series, it's been done. Wolves in sheep's clothing, basically, up to no good. I don't know that I have any great insights or anything spectacular to do. Like I've said last time, we looked at the first X-Men comic I forget. I'm just bringing comics into the Hellhole. We're chatting about things that I like, sharing the interest. If you're like-minded, jump in, say hi, tell me what you think. Maybe you got some better commentary than me. To me, not a great comic. I think I saw it today. I happened to be looking for the cover, I guess, for the stream. And it's selling for $100, $200. I presume that's just speculator bubble stuff for the movie, because this is not a $200 comic. It's decent enough. Thunderbolts are cool, but I don't think it's hugely significant. It's not some sort of great must-have read. It is what it is. It's good. I like it. It's a nice issue of Hulk. It has some historical value, but I just think that's too much. I'm happy with my copy, even though it's beat up and the covers come loose on the stables, but, Them's the breaks. Here, another one that clearly got beat up. So I probably around this time I'd go sleep over at my friend Ben's house. We would talk about comics. I'd stuff some comics in my backpack. Let's be honest, I just took comics wherever I was going. You know, you got to be ready. You got to be prepared. So you tuck some comics into your backpack, and just in case, you know, maybe you whip something out, you need to amuse yourself for a few minutes. That's before smartphones. Basically, that's the same behavior, though. I was just amusing myself with comics. Easy to carry around. So this is Thunderbolts #1. I don't know what happened to the cover. I might have it still somewhere, but it's not with the issue. So here you can see Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Thing, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, 3 of the FF. Oh, there's Mr. Fantastic. He's down here. So, clearly the public is remembering the heroes of the Avengers and FF who were thought to be dead. Here's Ground Zero. So the Sentinels were like a big part of the attack. Onslaught had control of the Sentinels. The Avengers had to fight the Sentinels. Everybody got in, did their part. This is so Kurt Busiek is writing, and I think he's instrumental to the Thunderbolts going forward. Peter David was the regular Hulk writer, so I guess he took the reins there. Mark Bagley. Love that 90s Mark Bagley. Obviously, Spider-Man is the big one. You can see some of the villains, I guess, that were causing trouble. I think these comics are getting up my nose. I've probably been storing these badly, getting a bit of the dust going. But you can see Citizen V looking cool, and they're out and about doing some PR stuff, just trying to get the attentions of the public. Nice big splash. Here you go. Here's the Thunderbolts in all their glory. Moonstone is probably one of the less redeemable ones. She'll end up with the Dark Reign version of the team. And I think, was she sort of like the Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, during the Dark Avengers run? I think that's right. Moonstone, bit of a classic, sort of a villain. Gets her powers from a space rock, whatever. Mach-V was Beetle. Songbird was Screaming Mimi, using her powers a little bit differently. It's a good change. It sticks around. And so I think Screaming Mimi, aka Songbird and Atlas, these are the two that sort of, they stick with the redemption, and they'll be there in recurring versions of the team. The Fixer becomes Techno. I think he pops up a few times. He might stick around. But Baron Zemo, no redeeming him. I think he comes back for a couple more turns. You can see big action, all that good stuff. So you got your rub from the Hulk. You got Thunderbolts. You match him up against the Hulk. It's a big main event. They don't get the win, but they get the rub. They're on that level. So now they're going solo. You got a new series. Who's it going to be? Who's going to get him over? You got to put him up against the Wrecking Crew, an A-list villain team, somebody they can beat, who's a big deal. I mean, if you don't know the Wrecking Crew, again, like the live-action Marvel stuff, was it the Daredevil TV series or something? I forget where Thunderbolts showed up, or She-Hulk. It might have been She-Hulk. They blew it. They totally blew it. They don't care about comics. All of their versions suck. It's not... I don't even think it's a political thing, man. Like, you got to get your head out of your ass and stop looking at everything through the same filter. Gender doesn't matter in this situation. Politics doesn't matter in this situation. Are they doing comics, or are they not doing comics? Their Wrecking Crew sucked. They were just a bunch of rubes, you know. I love the Wrecking Crew in the comics. Like, they're one of my favorite sort of B-list teams. Is B-list maybe a little bit harsh, but basically the Wrecker is the one that I really liked. Gets his, Asgardian-powered crowbar. Construction goon, made good, gets powers, and becomes a bad guy. And the Wrecking Crew, cool. Big, heavy hitters. They will show up here somewhere. Here you go. Causing trouble at the Statue of Liberty. Here, nice big team shot. The Wrecker, Thunderball, Bulldozer, Pile Driver. They're the Wrecking Crew. The Wrecker's the best. Thunderbolt's pretty cool. Thunderball. Bulldozer kind of looks cool, but he's a little bit like a dime store juggernaut with his look. And Pile Driver, probably the least interesting of the ones. One of the least interesting, so naturally he's the one that showed up solo in Maximum Security under Kurt Busiek. I don't know, interesting choice. Let's leave it at that. But nice big fight. Citizen V facing off against the Wrecker. Maybe a little bit of privilege knowledge, inside knowledge, because, of course, the Thunderbolts know the operations of the villains because they are the villains. They're the masters of evil, and they probably collaborated with some of these guys. Maybe some of these guys were in the Masters of Evil at some point. Masters of Evil go through a lot of iterations, different different leaderships, different lineups, and stuff like that. There was I think like, you know, I guess Baron Zemo had the most iconic Masters of Evil, but there was like one where it's more of a hodgepodge of just like named villains. I think Electro got in there at one point or something, you know. Some Spidey guys get in there. I think there was that issue. Is it Avengers 222 when Scorpion gets involved? That's kind of interesting. As one of those oddities. Scorpion, Matt Gargan will get involved with the Thunderbolts much later when he's got the Venom symbiote after Marvel Knights Spider-Man by Mark Miller and Terry Dodson, and I think is Frank Cho in there as well. But yeah, one of the interesting sort of, at the time, it did strike me as quite a sort of intuitive way to go with it. Whereas like Venom's played out at that point. The symbiote stuff, I mean, boy, is it ever played out now with Null and King in Black and all that stuff. To me, it's gone completely off the rails. It's really watered it down. It's done irreparable damage, maybe. Venom was kind of like a cliche, put him in the comic, a very 90s sort of thing where it's like the big, bombastic, he's got big teeth, he's got talons. It's sort of, it's lowest common denominator a little bit creatively, even though obviously Venom is very cool, you know, but you want to use it sparingly, you want to maintain it, and I think through overexposure, it really did erode it a little bit. So you get into the 2000s, everyone's a little bit jaded, things are getting a little bit more thought out, they're very writer driven, it's a little bit less visual, and some of that sort of visual area was where like Venom was maybe overused and mistreated a little bit. So Mark Miller comes up, I guess it's him or editors or whoever he was working with. The Venom symbiote is going to leave Eddie Brock and it goes to Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, and that's kind of works because the whole point is it's Venom, it's a Spider-Man villain. You know, Scorpion has Venom, kind of works. It was kind of interesting. It worked for a while. It was good that it eventually got reset. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily go that way too long, but I did think it was an intuitive sort of upgrade, and Scorpion was a little bit out of favor, sort of regarded maybe as a little bit old-fashioned, and there was issues of Spectacular Spider-Man somewhere around like 94 where the character really got like just embarrassed. So it was a way to maybe polish him up, do something interesting with him. That was a huge tangent about a much later iteration of the Thunderbolts. I mean, that's like 100 issues later during the Dark Reign period. There you see, hey, we were talking about the new Warriors. Here's the new Warriors. Night Thrasher, Speedball, Nova. Namorita. Spidey's there. So basically, the heroes are getting their say about, about what's going on. We get to the last pages, and this is maybe the iconic. This page in particular, this is, if you knew Thunderbolts, this is what you knew. Citizen V pulls the mask off. He's got another mask on! Well, he puts another mask on anyway. You can see there's the gnarly, scarred up, Deadpool-esque face of Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo probably did it first, guys. It's not Deadpool at all, but anyway. Puts the Baron Zemo mask on, and you get your nice little reveal that all of the Thunderbolts were Masters of Evil. That's pretty good. We already did it, but there you go. You get a little visual, Fixer, Beatles, Screaming Mimi, Goliath. I'm checking that they haven't used a different name, but yeah, Goliath and Moonstone. There's your nice little lineup. Actually, Moonstone factored into the backups. So we looked at X-Men Annual number 14, which was my first X-Men comic. It was part 4 of the Days of Future Present story. In part 1, which is in a Fantastic Four annual, I think there's a backup story with Moonstone. And that's pretty early Moonstone. I forget, does Moonstone... I forget when she comes into things. Don't think it's Secret Wars, because you've got Volcana in there as well. And there's some sort of Moonstone-Volcana connection, I think. It's a little bit vague, a little bit sketchy. But there you go, that's the Thunderbolts, and these are the Thunderbolts that I would have liked to have seen in Marvel Snap. I mean, these characters in particular, Atlas and Songbird, tried and true, they stick it out. Moonstone, another one, and these are sort of like, I would even say Mach-V. You know, these are your stronger Thunderbolts characters that are like true blue Thunderbolts. Obviously, they put Baron Zemo in, that was great. That's a great choice, very good choice. He's your like iconic character, really. He's your I feel like at this stage he's not really an A-list villain. He's maybe more of a B-list villain. But these guys are like C-list. You know, Fixer is way down there at this point. I forget, was Fixer in the Scarlet Spider issues? Was it that him? I'm forgetting. You know, like these guys, Beetle sort of had a little bit cachet. I forget, did Beetle show up on the Spider-Man animated series or something like that? I don't think he was in the Iron Man show. So Beetle's sort of like a C B-lister, but a Moonstone is maybe like there. Goliath was really CD lister. Fixer's probably like D-lister as well, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm not giving them credit, but you know, that's your sort of lineup. And really, as time goes on though, like Songbird becomes more iconic than Screaming Mimi ever was. Atlas becomes much more iconic to me than this version of Goliath was. There's multiple versions. So those are the characters I would have really liked to have seen in Marvel Snap. Songbird, Atlas, Moonstone, you know, you could go, you know, you could do either version really. Probably the Thunderbolts version would be better. Mach-V is probably better than Beetle, but see, Beetle is so, in my mind, Beetle is very iconic. Mach-V has status because of what happened. I can't remember now, was there another character as Beetle? Because really, like, you're not going to want to throw away Beetle. Somebody else can wear that armor. You know? I guess that works. Does it? I guess it does. Would have been cool to see these characters in Marvel Snap, and I would have put them on my Thunderbolts team, but we may do, if you want to find that, it's in the archive right now on YouTube. Just swing over to the Hellhole or YouTube and search for Thunderbolts Hellhole, Marvel Snap Hellhole. You'll find that team challenge. There's the X-Men Hellfire Gala from New Year, which was I mean, all these team challenges, they go horribly. At some point, we are going to find a comic book inspired team that will get us some wins and a more compelling run, because these teams have not been very, the cards are not sympathetic to each other. They're not simpatico. They're not, you know, they're just not, they're bad teams. I acknowledge it. They're bad teams, but they're comics inspired, and I'm going to keep doing comics inspired challenges. So make sure you hit that follow, ring the bell, subscribe, do all that stuff. Leave a comment. Just say hi. If you're checking this out in the archive, you know, what do you think? Yeah, what did you read the Thunderbolts comics early? Do you have a different version that you thought was good? What do you think of this original lineup? Were you here to see it? So for me, like I said, I might have seen this particular page in Wizard magazine, maybe even before I got the Hulk issue. I don't know how that matches up time-wise. That's the only thing. Because I think cover date on that Hulk is January, and the cover date on Thunderbolts #1 is April. So there's a couple of months in there before the bombshell is dropped. And I gotta think, I don't know if Wizard magazine is spoiling it before this issue's out. Maybe it's the same month, I'm not sure. They would have coordinated, I think. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I did get that Hulk before I knew what the deal with the Thunderbolts was. Maybe I did. I forget if I got this off a newsstand or like a Target, like $10 value pack. They did these like blister pack things where they were like sealed in with like 10 comics or something for $10 or something like that. I got some good stuff out of there. You know, as a kid, you know, you don't have all the money in the world. I never had a subscription to issues, and if I did, I wouldn't have been able to get, you know, issues like these, because I just like to bounce around, see what's on the shelves. What am I going to like? I don't want to commit to a year's worth of issues. That was never my style of reading. And I say that again to discourage people from thinking that you need these vast experiences with a particular series or characters. You don't need it. If you want to read comics, you can just kind of like, what looks interesting? I'll grab that. Maybe I'll keep up with this story. See how it goes. Search for digital previews online. I mean, at this point, it was Wizard magazine. These days, you can probably find previews online. I'm actually not sure about that, because for a while there was like a really good infrastructure with the major sites. Diamond would have previews, I think. All of that stuff's sort of gone away, so I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe with digital subscriptions, you can do previews and stuff. Digital subscriptions also open you up to getting much cheaper issues, so the risk of the investment is basically what I'm thinking of if you're not sure about something and you're reluctant to invest. But like I was trying this, you know, back in the day when, you know, you had to pay full cover price. I picked up the Hulk because I saw that the Thunderbolts were new and I was interested in the team. And, you know, I didn't think it was the greatest issue I'd ever read, but I was satisfied. I grabbed those cheap issues wherever I could. You got to do that. I guess if you can go to a comic book store, particularly in the United States, you seem to have great potential for cheap issues. Conventions seem to have cheap issues for like $1, dime, whatever. You know, it's impressive. You don't get that here. Down here, you got to be like, you know, it's Mad Max. They're like driving their motorcycles around the comics, and you gotta, you know, you're risking life and limb just to get a cheap comic down here. You know, one comic's gonna set you back an obscene amount. I tend not to buy new issues anymore because I'm not as interested in them. They're not always as satisfying. So I'm kind of contradicting myself here. You know, your mileage is gonna vary, and if you don't have, you know, decades of reading comics behind you, you're maybe going to be a little bit more open-minded to some of the newer series. I don't know if that's a good thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes not so much. There's stuff out there that's probably worth checking out, and I probably miss out on some of it. Some of what they got going on right now, Marvel, with the X relaunch, very much aligning with X-Men 97 and the sort of resurgence of 90s stuff. I mean, this is, we're doing it here. This is a 97 issue. This is very relevant to X-Men 97 and the 97 period. Onslaught leads to things going on with the X-Men, but it leads to other things in the Marvel Universe as well. This was a time where that connection was used in an interesting way, and I really thought Thunderbolts turned out to be a pretty good thing. It does essentially boil down to like a Marvel answer to Suicide Squad, but in 1997 when this comes out, like the Suicide Squad was done. There might have been a second series around that time, although it might have been a little bit later. The revival of the Suicide Squad could even be a response to the Thunderbolts. I don't quite remember, and I probably shouldn't misspeak. I'm tempted to try to look it up, but my setup is a little precarious here, so I'm not going to do it. We're going to go with, we'll be ill-informed. If you want to tell me something, chances are I already know because I probably double-checked or I've remembered. I've forgotten more about comics than some people have ever known, and it's just how it is. But yeah, so Thunderbolts essentially was a Marvel Suicide Squad, particularly moving forward, because you sort of had this underlying thing of, as they move away from, they kind of they live the gimmick, they become more heroic. Baron Zemo is cast out of the team, and like I already said, Songbird, Atlas in particular, I think Mach-V as well, they do continue to remain with iterations of the team, and they become more heroic. Hawkeye becomes the leader of the team. There's sort of like a little bit of an Avengers overlap, and then he sort of sidesteps into the team, but it works because Hawkeye was a former villain. I think, is he an ex-con? I always forget. But like the Suicide Squad, there becomes a thing where like the heroes that get involved with the Thunderbolts are often, they have sort of a criminal past. So you have that sort of underlying, a bit like the Suicide Squad, where there are generally it's about criminals. It's a little bit different. I don't know. The comparisons are there, and I do like the differences. There is a different flavor to it. Thunderbolts was really cool for what it was, and I dabbled here and there. I didn't really stick with it. I have issue 2, and then I sort of, I'm through process of priority, I'm looking at other things. You know, I was sticking with Fantastic Four throughout the Heroes Reborn period and stuff like that. Other things, Deadpool was a series that I was buying back then, as much as I could when I would see it out and about. So I did drift from Thunderbolts, but I definitely I got back in with the Dark Reign period. That was really good. Interesting time for Thunderbolts, more recent, a little bit different. You know, it challenges this version. It becomes more villain centric, and Norman Osborn's pulling the strings. That was a really good time. And the Heroic Age kind of started well. That's around the period where I started to think the worm turns, Marvel's losing its way a little bit, but putting Luke Cage in there was kind of cool. A hero with an ex-con background, that worked. You had Juggernaut in there, that was really cool. They got Crossbones in there, which was a little bit challenging after he was involved in assassinating Captain America, or so it would seem. Maybe we'll look at stuff like that some other time. I don't know like how often we're going to do the comic book thing, but I'm really inspired by the cartoonist kayfabe guys who sort of I got into over the last few years. And obviously, I'm a big comic book fan, and I was looking for a way to get more of my interests into the Hellhole, and this is how we're doing the comic book thing for now. and maybe I'll just keep bringing some issues in. I did just buy like a small handful of back issues. Maybe we'll check out the hole. I know that's a thing people do. We got lots more going on in the Hellhole right now. We got to do game trailers. We got to check that out. I got a stack that sort of came out of April. We'll slide them into May. Who knows what's coming? Summer Game Fest is next month. There'll probably be more things this month. I know Homelander is probably imminently going to get a trailer any day now for Mortal Kombat 1. Not a character I'm interested in, but it is a comic book reference, so we might as well mention it at least. So we got all that stuff going on. I picked up the DLC, the Contra DLC, the Guns DLC for Vampire Survivors, so I'm going to bring that into the Hellhole. We got to check that out. Very curious to see how that is. I did fire it up, and I saw that you don't even get the characters right up. You got to unlock them. So there's going to be stuff to play there, and I really enjoy Vampire Survivors. If you head to the Hellhole on YouTube, or if you're already there, you can find a Vampire Survivors playlist. That was such a pleasure to get into that game as I sort of dabble in PC gaming. Again, Marvel Snap, there's all kinds of team challenges going on. Hopefully we'll do something good. I'm tempted to, I've been doing daily missions here on Twitch, so you can follow, be here for those. Drops are enabled right now. Doing those, I've been having some better runs on those because I'm using teams that work and get me my daily missions done. I don't know, lots of things going on. We got the NBA Upper Deck 90-91-92 box break in progress. We'll come back for more of that soon. The Mortal Kombat 1 Lucifer timeline, I got to get that next chapter 14 done. I want to do some more Fall Guys. So I don't know. I'm just throwing a whole heap of stuff in the air. We'll see what lands. This has been Thunderbolts. First appearances, Incredible Hulk number 449, Thunderbolts number 1. Nice, bit shorter than some of the usual stuff, so hopefully you appreciate that. Still using those intros, the 90-second intro. I know it's a long time. If you just sit through it, it's good for the metrics, but also it's good for me settling in. I will come back soon with something else. Until then, adios amigos. Godspeed.